For you, Elizabeth, I have a song in 3 verses and a coda. But I'm not going to sing. When I came to Wake Forest University in the fall of 1975, I came as a psychology major. I had chosen my university on that basis. I came here knowing the psychology faculty, ready to do work in psychology, eventually hoping to stick wires into people's brains and see what would happen as a result. I never did that. The first semester I was here, I took studies in American literature with Dr. Elizabeth Phillips, Whitman, Dickinson, Frost, Stevens, Poe. I realized that I had made a tremendous mistake and that I needed to be an English major. When Elizabeth teaches, and I know her former students will bear me witness, it is a routine occurrence to have every hair on the back of one's neck stand on end. It could be when she's reading a poem. It could be when she is expounding on the sense of the poem. For me, it was shockingly often a remark she would make in passing. I haven't felt that way since, I suppose, 10 years ago, she would say. Or, that reminds me of something I had just seen in the library a moment ago. And then on she would go. And in those moments, I could see into the mind and the heart of someone whose example I wanted desperately to follow. So I left psychology behind, and I came as much as I could to major in Elizabeth Phillips. That took me into a life of crime. I am now a professor of English at the University of Mary Washington in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And I have brought with me today something that I keep very close by. I have moved across country twice. I will not let any of these out of my sight. This one happens to be the last one I wrote as an undergraduate for Elizabeth. You can see that it is covered in red. It is unfortunately not the best paper I wrote for her, but she said, I have commented more than I normally do on certain stylistic points because I probably won't have another opportunity to do that for you. Okay? And then on the side, she says, when I begin, the poems numbered 162 and 165 in Final Harvest deal with, and under deal with, there is red. In the margin, it says, I know the phrase deal with is a common one in speaking of writers, but I find it an inappropriate one, supporting business or some other occupational activity, rather than writing. Sorry to mention it. The red on this page is red I can no longer tell from my own life's blood. The third verse is from an essay by Robert Frost called The Figure a Poem Makes, in which he says that a poem begins in delight and ends in wisdom. He says the poem can never lose the sense of discovery that propelled it as it first came into being. He says at the end, the figure that a poem makes is the same as for love. The figure that Elizabeth Phillips makes begins in delight. Maybe in my case it will end in wisdom. The jury is out, but it is the same as for love. And now the coda. In Lessons of the Masters, a really fine book about teaching, George Steiner writes, quote, libido siendi, a lust for knowledge, an ache for understanding is incised in the best of men and women, as is the calling of the teacher. There is no craft more privileged. To awaken in another human being powers, dreams beyond one's own, to induce in others a love for that which one loves, to make of one's inward present their future. This is a threefold adventure like no other, end quote. In the fall of 1975, you called me to that threefold adventure. My life has been immeasurably richer for it. I love you, Elizabeth Phillips. You set me free into a world I can never exhaust. Every time I teach or write or read, I bring your spirit as close to mine as I can. I hope and pray you will always stop somewhere, waiting for me. Ever your student.